Hello, hello, everybody. This is Debrina Jackson Gandy. And oh my goodness, I am so excited tonight to be talking about male-female communication. So I'm going to just wait. Hello, Marion Sutherland. Hello, Tia. Welcome. If you all can hear me, send me some hearts. Send me some hearts. Hey, Becca. Hey, y'all, if you can hear me, send me some hearts so I know you're there. Can you hear me okay? Yes, send me some hearts. Welcome, welcome. Yay, thank you for the hearts so that I know you can hear me. Hello, Idel. Hello, Jill. Hello, y'all. Good evening, good evening. Send me some hearts if you can hear me. Send me some hearts if you can hear me. Thank you for joining me tonight for my Facebook Live. To Gis, Tekla, hello. Sherilyn, hello. Carol, hello. Thank you all for joining me. And this is going to be a juicy conversation, so I hope you share. So take a moment and invite a few other women and men into this conversation tonight. Hi, Joey. Welcome. Because we are going to be talking about he said, she said, and how to decrease your communication frustrations with men. Now, this applies whether you are currently in a love relationship, currently in a marriage, or you're dealing with men or a son in your life. So this is relevant to everybody, the things that I'm going to be sharing. Hello, Jerome. Hey, Stephanie, darling, welcome. Hello, Freddie and Angela and Glenda. Hello. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Angela from Juicy Woman University. Hey, Shabisha. I love seeing so many of my students on the line. Tonight, we're talking about some good stuff that's in the Love Lies. So hopefully every single one of you has your Love Lies book. The physical book is what I recommend because the things I'll be talking about tonight, you can also refresh and revisit them in the book. So we are going to get started. And I also want to let you know, hey, Jeffrey Taylor, I love having men on the line. Yes. Because you're going to learn some things about us women and our style and mode of verbal communication and how to have less frustration on your end, especially the men that are joining us that are married, okay? Hi, Linda. Welcome, welcome. I want to let you all know that also I have my colleague on the line, the awesome and amazing Sean Thomas, who is going to be monitoring your questions and sending them to me live, hot off the press, so that I can answer questions you all have after I do a little sharing. Hi, Maxine. Hey, Joseph. Hey, V, another Juicy Woman University student. Welcome, welcome. Well, I hope you all have something to write on, a journal, a notebook, a notepad, and your pen. Because I want you to take some notes, right? To go from hearing it is one thing, but to go to writing it helps to solidify it. Hi, Latan. Oh my gosh, a friend of mine from high school at Timberline High School in Lacey. Wow. Hey, Latan. Hey, Amanda. Andrea Crawley. Hey, girl. Another student from my Eagles course and the Bountiful course. Rosalind, Shayla, Ranny Kang. Hello, hello, hello. This is awesome. Hey there, Latan. This is so wonderful. So, what I want to share as we begin is I want to bust a myth related to communications between men and women. I want to bust up a big fat myth, and I see this myth perpetuated on talk shows. I see this myth perpetuated in thousands of the 30,000 books that we have on our shelves and that have been published about love relationships and communication. And it's a place I want to start because one of the reasons that we continue, I repeat, continue to experience so much frustration if we tell the truth in our love relationships and in our marriages, is because we're operating from a set of lies. I call them love lies. You can see the poster over my shoulder here on my wall in my office. Love lies. And love lies are false, flawed, faulty beliefs. False, flawed, faulty beliefs. And we have a lot of them in the foundation of our current love relationships paradigm. And so when we look at our 51% divorce rate, which, by the way, if you rank all of the 185 countries that make up the Earth's nations, do you know where we land? Last. The US of A has the worst success rate of any other country when it comes to, for example, marriage, because you actually can track that statistic. So in the arena of love relationships, we suck, y'all. In general, we suck. So I say that very blatantly like that so that we can be very humble as we come to this call, not thinking we know it all, not thinking, you know, this is stuff that I already have mastered, because the evidence is to the contrary. In the United States, and if you were socialized here and raised here, meaning from age 3 and up, then you have been infected by the love lies. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Dee. Welcome. And one of the big love lies that we're told is that communication is the key. Have you heard that before? If you have, send me some hearts. Communication is the key. Have you heard that before? Send me some hearts and let me know, so I know you can relate. How many books might we pull off the shelf where it says communication is the key? How many times might we be listening to a expert on relationships? Hi, Sonetta. And we're told communication is the key. How many times have we gone to marriage counseling or a counselor and they say to the couple, communication is the key? Well, if communication is the key, and we're one of the most talkative, verbose cultures on the planet, and yet we have the highest divorce rate, meaning the highest failure rate in our love relationships, then clearly communication is not the key. It's something deeper. Hi, Brian. Hi, Lisa. And it's the something deeper that the love lies talks about. But what we're going to talk about tonight is a skill area. Communication, as I teach it, is a skill area that needs to be upgraded, elevated, and up-leveled if you are interested in being in a love relationship, and especially if you're interested in being in covenant marriage. And most of the time, we're going into a new love relationship or a marriage, and we have not consciously and intentionally upgraded our communication. So we go into it communicating the same way we do as a single person. When you're in partnership, you have to up-level your communication 5 notches above where it was as a single person. Then secondly, for the women on the line, since we tend to do most of the talking in the space of love relationships, not always the case, but in most cases, we tend to talk in womanese to men instead of manese. Did y'all get that? If you got that, send me some hearts. That's how you're letting me know if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Y'all with me so far? Because I don't want to go any further until you let me know you're getting what I'm saying right now before we go to the next level. I'm looking for some hearts. I'm looking for some hearts. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Great. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So a lot of our communication frustration is because as women, we are speaking to the men in our lives. This includes our sons. This includes our coworkers, our team members, our bosses, or those who we are the boss of in the workplace. We tend to speak in womanese to the men in our lives. Now, womanese, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute, works great when you're talking to another woman. It's a familiar style. It's a familiar pattern The way you're putting your words together, it's very comfortable for her because she also is speaking womanese. The problem is we don't realize that we need to make a shift in our style and our pattern of communication when we are speaking to men or young men or sons or colleagues, etc. That there's a different style and pattern of communication that men use. And so if you're speaking womanese to a man and he's not responding the way you want, you can draw some erroneous conclusions. Oh, he doesn't care, he's not listening, all which are usually false. We women have been conditioned to make men wrong if we don't get the response we want. Well, what about if we, the initiator of the communication, the one with the request, the one desiring a response, what if there's some adjustment we need to make over here on our side of the line? So tonight is about what are the adjustments you need to make to get what you want without having to repeat it 100 times. Y'all with me? Anyone interested in that? Let me know. Send me some hearts. And hey, y'all, share this. Hit share so some other people can be in on this conversation tonight. So we're going to do some skills building. And skills building alone does not make for a juicy relationship, right? I talk about juicy relationships, not just happy, juicy. Hi, Chantal. Hi, Monique. Mwah, mwah, mwah. So glad you could join us tonight. Hi, Stacy. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the hearts and thank you for sharing. Share it, share it, share it. So I want to break down some of the differences between womanese, a woman's style and pattern of communication, and manese, a man's style and pattern of communication, and why, particularly in the arena of love relationships, they do this. They clash, or they do this, friction, instead of being in harmony. Okay? So here's several characteristics, actually, several characteristics of womanese. When women communicate to other women, and we don't even realize we do this, it's in our blind spot, it's invisible to us, it's familiar, it's in the back of our brain, it's not even a conscious thought. We tend to be very indirect. There's a lot of assumption, and the assumption that we fill in tends to be correct because we're talking to another woman. We use a lot of inference and dropping hints, and we do a lot of what I call commentating. Hey, Devin, welcome. Hey, Brittany, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. Share, share, share. So women tend to be indirect. We tend to do a lot of inferring. We tend to do a lot of hint dropping. And we also tend to do a lot of what I call commentating. So narrating about something, but not getting to what is it you want the other person to do with regard to what you are commentating about. Men are listening for their part in what you're commentating about, and we often don't get to it because it was woven into the story and we expect them to infer it like another woman would do, or assume or presume correctly like another woman might do. So if they don't get it, they don't assume and presume correctly, we tend to make them wrong. Instead of, hold up, I've been talking in womanese this whole time. I've been narrating and commentating this whole time. I've been indirect this whole time. I haven't used any verbs or actions this whole time. I haven't made a request this whole time. So what happens is we conclude falsely that if a man isn't responding the way we want, he's not as invested, he doesn't love us, he doesn't care, he's not listening, which causes the female heart to shut down. And unfortunately, what we tend to do when we're in our girl, which is an immature emotional and spiritual space, 99% of us are immature when we go into our love relationships. So the immature girl part of us does the silent treatment. And then a man says, are you okay? And then we lie, even though we want a man who's honest. And we say, I'm fine, as we slam another cupboard door. That's girlish behavior. We're not doing it that way anymore. We want to break those cycles. Okay, so the silent treatment is a girlish response. If any of you out there have been doing that, okay? To lie and say, oh, nothing's wrong, when something is a girlish response. A woman, a juicy woman, which is what I am up to helping women become juicy women, we have learned to become bilingual and speak manese and womanese. Womanese to our female friends and the women in our lives, and we make the shift to speaking manese to the men in our lives. So before I tell you more about manese, here's what doesn't work when you're talking to a man. Beating around the bush, dropping hints, and wanting him to infer or fill in blanks. And we do it all the time. There's a love lie called he should already know. That's one of the 10 love lies that I talk about in my book. That's an actual love lie. Love lie number 8. He should already know. That's a love lie women have. And that feeds our girlish way of communicating in our relationships. He should already know. Well, know from where? Know how? Based on what? So you want to kill that lie right away. It is not true. How he knows is because you communicated to him in manese. That's how he knows. But we're communicating in womanese. And we're operating from the lie that he should already know. And if he doesn't, we make him wrong. Y'all with me? Is this making sense? Hope you're taking some notes. Send me some hearts if this is making sense. And share, not send, but share this. Let me send a note to, Brittany says, let's see, I'm getting married. My friend tells me to put my big girl panties on instead of my chair. She says, do you want to be a girl or a woman? Yes, exactly. Don't get married unless you've shed the girl and you've stepped into woman. And there's a whole bunch of characteristics and beliefs that a woman is operating from. So yes, Brittany, you want to move into your woman and you want him to move into his man. Because when a girl and a boy get married, they will get divorced by year 10. We don't want that. That 51% divorce rate, most folks are getting divorced right around year 10. Girls and boys, we want women and men to be married, not girls and boys. Girls and boys, that's an immature spiritual and emotional state. You're operating from the love lies, which is 95% of us. So we want you to get detoxed first before you go into covenant marriage. So one of the women said, but if I've already said things over and over to him and he's still not hearing. So if you're having to repeat things over and over and over and over, that's 4 overs, then you're probably speaking in womanese to him and you don't realize it, but you think you're speaking in manese. That's one of the reasons. If you keep saying things over and over and over and over, you also may be saying it in a way he can't receive it because your facial expressions, your nonverbal, and your body language is a turnoff. Did you get that? Or your voice inflection. We often use our voice inflection negatively instead of using it positively and to support our manese communication. Because so many of us are frustrated and irritated, if we tell the truth and pull back the curtain, that irritation and frustration comes through in our voices. And men are highly sensitive, including our sons. For those of you who are on the line that are women with sons, men are highly sensitive to our voice inflection, our facial features, and our body language when we're communicating. So if you're saying something over and over and over, you may be saying the words, but your nonverbal or your body language or your facial expressions are contradicting the success of that communication being received by that man. Woo! Yes. Thankful Thomas says, makes sense, never thought about it that way. So communication is not just the verbal words out of your mouth. Hey, I'm being clear. Why doesn't he get it? Hold up. Check the voice inflection. Check the nonverbal. Check the facial expressions. You want to be aligned. You want to have sweetness in your voice. Have what? Sweetness. in your voice, not irritation and frustration and irritability. Men hate that. Sons hate that. Hey, Teresa, how you doing? Lady Lion, hello. All right, so let's move on. So now let's talk about manese. I talked about womanese. We tend to be indirect. We tend to narrate and commentate a lot. We tend to drop hints because we've learned through our conditioning and socialization that way of communicating with other women works really well, but not with men or our sons. So with men, we want to be direct. We want to be literal. We want to be specific. And we want to have a verb or an action in there if there's something we want them to do. Literal, direct, specific, and have a verb, which AKA is an action. Literal, direct, specific, and a verb, an action. Okay? So that means you're going to have to take your womanese way of thinking, and before it comes out of your mouth, you might need to do some conversion. And if you have something you want a man to do or an action you'd like to have him complete or a task, then you want to learn how to make requests. In womanese, we don't make requests very well. We actually are pretty poor at it. And a lot of times when a woman is communicating with the man in her life, thinking she's being clear, asking over and over and over again and not getting the response, it's not a request. It's a command or a demand or a statement. It's not a request. So I'm talking about a request. A request starts with will you or would you, not can you. Let me say that again, because I can be in a Love Academy live session, my full day intensive, and I can let women know that it is will you or would you, the way that you start a request. And then I'll say, okay, you try it. Can you? Just that fast. Default back to old womanese patterns. Not can you. It's not about their ability or capability to do it. Of course they're able. But will you, would you? So don't start a request with can you. Will you or would you? And then what's the action? And there should be a question mark on the end. And you want to be very careful of your voice inflection. You want to be sure there's a verb in there. And if there is a timeline involved, you need to say it. And don't have everything by default be now. Because as women, because we overdo and do way too much. Often when we ask someone to do something, we want it done now. That may not be a priority for them. It may not be a priority for him. You can't rest because the garbage is full. He can. Take a cue. Sit down and chill out and let him do the garbage after the game or whatever. So if you want the garbage done tonight, then say, would you take the garbage out tonight before you go to bed? Don't just say, would you take the garbage out? When you make a request, you need to give him the space to say no or yes. Otherwise, you are manipulating. Come on now, somebody. And so much of our communication, ladies, is manipulative. If he says no or not now, we get a funky attitude. We withdraw and we go into girlish, immature behavior. We want to break that habit. It's very acceptable in this Western American culture. Okay, y'all with me so far? I'm just checking to see what questions. Hi, Lisa. Yes, sweetness in the voice. Very important. Use that voice inflection. It's a gift. I'm just monitoring for questions that may be coming through. Okay, let's see. Questions. I don't think I have any yet. Okay. So let's talk about some examples of manese. So I just gave one, right? Would you or will you take out the garbage tonight before you go to bed. That's an effective request. He may say no. Then you may come back with another request. Would you take the garbage out by the morning before you go to work? That's an effective request. Don't just assume he knows you want it done now because right now it's overflowing. Because it may not be bothering him the way it's bothering you. Women notice different things than men notice, and we tend to make them wrong if they don't notice the same things we do, or if the things that bother us don't also bother them. So we need to relax. The world is not going to stop revolving if the garbage doesn't get taken out tonight. Relax. Here's the second part of communicating in manese effectively. You may need to have a loving reminder. So you asked, would you take the garbage out tonight before you go to bed? And you wait for a response. So don't be slick and your request is really a command. So would you be sure to take the garbage out tonight? You treated it like it was a request, but you're using it like a weapon where the only thing he can say is yes. Don't fall into that very typical girlish style of communication. Will you take the garbage out tonight before you go to bed? Now you wait for an answer. It's a request. There's a question mark at the end. Yes or no. Now, it might only be 5 o'clock and he might go to bed at 11. That's 6 hours later. So a loving reminder may be necessary. Loving reminder, not an irritated reminder, not a frustrated reminder. And if you asked him to do it, do not undermine yourself and then you go do it because you don't know how to chill out and relax, and then you go, after a big sigh, go ahead and take the garbage out yourself. No, you are training him to let enough time go by and you'll go ahead and do it all. And you're going to be pissed, and over time you're going to become resentful, and you're going to disempower other people around you by always doing it. Are y'all with me? If this is making sense, oh my gosh, let me know. If this is contributing to you, let me know. Okay. And women do that all the time because we don't know how to relax. We don't know how to empower others around us. We just know how to do it ourselves. And we're tired and worn out and depleted. That's why I have to teach a sacred self-caring lifestyle. Okay? So you're going to be making requests if there's an action or a certain response that you would like. Okay? Would you insert the action of the verb, question mark on the end, wait for a response? Okay? And if it's a new behavior or a lot of time has gone by since the request was made, several hours or a day or whatever, then a loving reminder. But do not go ahead and do it yourself, or you're sabotaging yourself and you're training him to disregard your requests. Woo, let me say that again. If you make a request, and this includes with your male children especially, and then you go ahead and do it yourself, you are training them to disregard your requests and that you're going to go ahead and do it anyway. If there's a certain way you would like it done, then articulate that clearly, but don't assume. So once the request is made, you're releasing it. Okay? So this is going to take some unlearning, because if a video camera could tape you all the past times you've communicated with men you've been involved with in love relationships, videotape communication with husbands, with sons, you would probably be majorly violating all over the place in terms of manese and what works when you speak to men. So often women say, I've been making requests. I will actually say in Love Academy, tell me what you've been saying right now. Speak to me and tell me what you've been saying. And do you know, after leading 45 Love Academies all across the United States, having hundreds of graduates, anytime someone does a role play with me and tells me what they're saying, it's never a request. So wives think they're requesting and they're making statements. Or they're using a question and they have a demand wrapped up inside of it. Would you please take out the garbage? That is not a request. That's an irritated use of a question, and inside of it is wrapped a command or a demand. So every single time, particularly a wife, shares with me what she's actually saying to her husband, it's never a request. That's because in the world of womanese, we aren't taught to make requests. Requests are always made of us. Someone asked, does this apply to dating as well? I meant to say yes. Absolutely. If you're talking to a man, then you want to know how to speak manese so that you can get what you want or the response you want without having to say it over and over and over and over. You may have to say it over and over, especially if it's a new behavior. But again, it needs to be done with sweet voice inflection. Here's the next thing. If you get the response you want, let's say he takes that garbage out before he goes to bed. Men are so beautifully uncomplicated. And if you want to reinforce desirable behavior or a response that you like or wanted, you got to let them know, I like that. Thank you. I appreciate it. But guess what? So often we don't say those words because, well, he should already know. He's not thanking me. Why should I have to say thank you? That should be status quo. That should be fundamental. You're going to be a frustrated woman. You don't understand how men tick. When they carry out an action that you like or appreciate, they're on point, the request was fulfilled, then you better give some verbal feedback or some nonverbal feedback like a kiss or a rub or a hug or a positive loving touch. Along with verbal, that's a double anchor. So you provide the verbal along with loving touch of some sort, anchor that positive comment, and the male mind says, I like pleasing her, and they want to receive that response again. So the next time a request is made, they think back to the thanks and appreciation that came with them fulfilling on the request, and they want to feel that again, and they want you to be pleased again. Okay, let's see. Brittany said, sweetness is hard, especially if you weren't trained to be soft. No, sweetness is not hard. You've just forgotten. Sweetness is your natural space. Do not claim that something that's your natural space is difficult. You've learned how to be very overly masculinized with your energy, so you would need to unlearn a foreign way of being. Sweetness is not hard. It is your natural state. When you've done your forgiveness work, when you're doing your personal growth and truth-telling work, when you are feeding your feminine spirit, sweetness is natural. Don't claim that sweetness is hard. That's your natural state. All right. And it's not necessary, you know, if you were trained, you can be untrained. So don't claim that this is the way you were trained unless it's working for you. That means you got to detox and untrain and unlearn and relearn what works. And what we're doing 99% of the time in our love relationships is not working. The evidence in the fruit is letting us know. So let me just do a recap. So you want to become bilingual. Hi, May. Hi, Linda. Just want to say hi to some of the new folks that joined us. You want to learn to become bilingual as a woman. And if you're a man on this line, you want to learn how to understand womanese. So to the men on the line, you all are all about action and solution. So when a woman you love or a daughter you love comes to you filled up with some emotional tension because of something that's gone on in her world or her life, the first thing she needs to do is be able to get it out of her mouth verbally, because that's an actual discharge of energy for women. So instead of moving into solution, hearing her frustration or her angst come out, and you wanting to have her come into a place of relief with your solution, you want to just listen. She's actually working out some energy by being able to vent. Okay? This is to the men on the line. Then after we vent, you can ask some questions to keep us sharing more, because it's moving the energy out of our bodies. So then what happened, honey? What was his or her response? How'd that make you feel? Ask questions, just keep her, discharging, getting it out. Then at the end of all that, did you want me to offer a solution or not? Ask, don't just offer it. She'll feel like you're not listening and she's not heard, even though you're trying to take her out of her discomfort by wanting to know what solution, what action can you do. So ask her first, honey, did you just want me to listen? Or did you want me to offer suggestions? Ask before you just start offering that, men. You love us so much. I know you want us to be out of discomfort, but we're working some stuff out, even by sharing. Men usually work it out physically. We work it out. A lot of energy moves out through our talking. Okay? So that's for the men on the line. And for the women on the line, let your man know. Honey, I just need you to listen. I don't need your wonderful masculine solution. I just want your ears right now. And then at the end of sharing, if you would like his feedback, his thoughts, his input, then let him know. But let him know on the front end. All you got to do is listen, boo. That's all you got to do. Just got to listen. That's going to be enough. So someone, May Vetty, she said, I said I need an apology and I got it. That's wonderful. If you need an apology and you get it, it's when we need an apology and we don't get it. That's what's rough. And we kick into girlish reactions to that. But if you need it and you got it, that's awesome. So I want you to know that now is a great time to start sending over questions. And it's also a great time to know that I go into further detail on these things in the Love Lies. Communication is not the key, y'all. That's a lie. It is a skill. And if you upgrade that skill, it is going to serve you and help you, but it is not at the root cause of why our relationship failure rate is the worst on the planet. There's a very specific set of love lies that we women have been taught starting at age 3 is what my research shows. Love lies related to relationships start to be installed at age 3. It's the love lies that are the true culprits, not communication, because our communication patterns are informed by our love lies. What? Yes. That's why communication is not the key. It's the fruit of the love lies. The way we've been communicating is the fruit of the love lies. And the fruit the love lies produce is poisonous. It's toxic. So someone asked, how do I cultivate my sweetness and femininity? I didn't say femininity. I said feminine energy. There's a difference. So how do I cultivate my sweetness and femininity? I'm going to change that to feminine energy when I'm an unbalanced woman. I think that's what it said. Let me see if I can get back to it. Great. So that's why I wrote my first book, Sacred Pampering Principles, because it's all about getting back into balance and understanding how to cultivate sacred self-care as a way of life, and inner renewal as a way of life, and healing and forgiveness as a way of life. So if you know you're unbalanced, if you know your energy is overly masculinized, if you know you're caught up in overdoing itis, then you absolutely want to start with my first book, Sacred Pampering Principles. And you want to sign up for courses where I'm talking about the sacred self-caring consciousness. Because as you move into a sacred self-caring consciousness, and the culture teaches a self-abuse, self-neglect, and a self-dishonoring consciousness, by the way, as you move more and more into a sacred self-caring consciousness, it automatically feeds your feminine charge and your feminine core and your feminine essence. And your sweetness starts to come back naturally, not forced and not just from behavior. So when you feed your feminine energy, you have masculine and feminine energy, both in your being, but the net balance is feminine energy. When you know how to feed that feminine energy, it automatically starts to fill your feminine spirit. And when your feminine spirit is on full versus E for depleted, D for depleted, sweetness is the natural byproduct. So many of us, what you see is harshness and irritability and resentment because our feminine spirit is starved and anorexic. Woo! Can I get an amen? Is anyone picking up what I'm putting down? Send me some hearts. Send me some hearts. And share, share, share. Woo, hit share and share this with some folks. Okay. So you can come back into balance. That's the good news. If you're out of balance. Woo! An example of, someone asked an example of women who worked with me and made these changes in their love language and the outcome. So I'm not talking about love language. I'm not talking about Gary Chapman's 5 love languages. I'm talking about some very gender-centric ways we tend to communicate. The love languages are specific to a person. I'm not talking about the love languages. I'm talking about manis and womanis. You first want to get that down. If you can get down manis and womanis, it will elevate your relationship and bring more ease. Love languages is specific to a person and your ability to pick up on cues and clues you're getting from them, and further knowing how to express certain demonstrations of your love. Okay? So love language is how you demonstrate love. I'm talking about verbal communication here. There's a difference. Okay? Just so we're clear. I'm not talking about the love languages. I'm talking about manis and womanis, which are collective truths. Love lies are specific to a person, a personal truth, and it has to do with expressions of love, actions, demonstration. Got it? Okay. So I have to date, as far as the women that have done the Love Academy with me, I know of at least, hi Denise, hi Tamika, hello, hey JT. I know of at least, get this y'all, and these are the ones that have just gotten back to me, sent me an email, called me, or sent me a wedding invitation. I have 41 new marriages from graduates of Love Academy. 41. 41. 41. And those are just the ones I know about. Women that have been committed to detoxing themselves of the love lies, upgrading their communication skill, healing themselves of old patterns, these old love lies, infected beliefs, understanding about the criticality of sacred self-care, particularly if you're looking at being in a relationship with another. Sacred self-care is something you really want to master in your relationship with self. And if it's not mastered and you go to be in union or in relationship with another self, it will show up and be illuminated. And you will start to project onto the other needs that are not their responsibility to fulfill on. And you will have expectations that it's not their responsibility to fulfill on, because you have holes in your spirit, because you have areas of unhealedness in your being, and it happens all the time. And that's why women are constantly frustrated with men, because the things that we want them to fulfill and the holes we want them to fill in us, they cannot, and nor is it their job or assignment. So there's real results. 41 new marriages ain't shabby, and we're talking from ages 25 to 74. We're talking from coast to coast. We're talking across religion. We're talking across ethnicity. Okay? women that do the work and the women that are committed to detoxing themselves of the love lies, and some other pieces I have in there about modern courtship and how you manage sexual energy and how you stop allowing men to enter your divine body temple after date 3. Yeah, that's what tends to happen by date 3, including we holy Christian folk. By date 3, if not the first night, after some sexting and texting off of Tinder. Come on now, somebody. Woo! So there's some examples. I have so many, coast to coast. And marriage is not the only demonstration of that, but that's just something that's measurable. You know, X number of new marriages for women that was a desire of their heart. Even those that have been divorced before, remarried. My 2 oldest graduates of the Love Academy, at the time they took it, were 72 and 68. 1 Caucasian and 1 African American. So it ain't just white women. It ain't just black women. It isn't just young women. Both remarried. Husbands died of cancer. Busted up one of the love lies about having a soulmate. S-O-L-E-S-O-U-L. Soulmate. Busted up that love lie. Opened up all new possibilities in their world. In addition to some other lies they busted up. So there's 10 love lies that have us in bondage and producing 51% divorce rate. So there's the answer to that. Do I have examples? I have all kinds of testimonies and testimonies and testimonies and testimonies from women. Before Love Academy and after. I also do couples coaching with couples. You have to be committed to being engaged and engaged on the way to covenant marriage for me to do couples work with you. So couples that are not just doing counseling, that works on some other stuff like communication, and it tends not to be effective because 60% of people who get counseling first still end up in divorce. So I'm doing active work with people. People want to come out of this old paradigm. It is not working. Woo! So lots of examples, lots of testimonies. And if you go to my website, milliondollarmentor.net, and the Love Academy related information I have on my website, you will see testimonies. DidYouBuyTheLoveLies.com is another site I have with a lot of relationship focused information, but all kinds of testimonies, all kinds. So it works if you do the work. It works if you do the work. I repeat, it works if you do the work. There's no proxy. You can't leapfrog. If you're serious about personal growth and spiritual development and detoxing from the love lies, you must do the work. But the fruit and the benefit and the reward is tremendous. That's the great news. Hi, Tamika. Hey, Chantel. Hey, Shanita. What does Shanita say? Oh, this is perfect timing. My handsome coworker offered to wash my car. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Questions now, y'all. Let's shift to some questions. I'm so excited. What questions do you have for me? Type them in, and Sean Thomas is going to get them over to me. One other thing I'll mention while I'm waiting for some of your questions to come across, especially for women on the line who are married. You need to understand that the way we use and treat questions is very different between men and women. So when we talk to another woman, to ask questions to get understanding, to ask questions to get more information, to ask questions to be sure we're clear is very common and typical. But when we're talking to, particularly, let's say, our husband who's sharing an idea, I think I might want to get a new truck. That in those situations where we then start to hit them with questions, it can be interpreted as you doubting their idea, as you picking apart their idea, you not being supportive, or you not being a team player. So you want to refrain from the litany of womanese-based questions that you're used to letting flow if you're with a girlfriend. And let him finish talking about his idea. And then in another separate setting, I repeat, another separate setting, you can then bring up some questions. But if you ask him at the time he's bringing forth his idea or his thought or what he's pondering, it will be perceived as you not being in support automatically. It will be perceived as a challenge to what he's sharing, or you doubting his possible decision. And women do it all the time. And they tell me, Sabrina, my husband came home and said XXX, or he brought up XXX, and I just went to ask him some questions because I just wanted to, understand. And then he said, never mind, never mind. And I was like, what? I said, because your questions are being interpreted as casting doubt on what he's sharing, or you not being in support. And it doesn't mean you have to be a yes to it, but automatically him feeling like you were trying to pick it apart. Isn't that something? What if we had been told that questions can be perceived differently if it's being directed towards a man in a love relationship? What? Yep. Okay, other questions. We only have a few minutes left. Questions. While you're thinking about your questions, I just want to let you all know. Oh, Chanita. Oh my goodness. She said, my coworker offered to wash my car. Our schedules conflicted so much that I almost considered taking care of it myself. Girl, no. Woman, let that dirt go another few days and let that man wash that car. Do not go get that car washed. You got it? He's trying to make a contribution to you and you about to rebuke it. Let that dirt build up a little bit more. It's okay. Shabisha said the garbage seems like a simple example, but she nonetheless has noticed that women she knows, including herself, get frustrated when things are not tidy. But men don't tend to be bothered by it. Unfortunately, our mothers allowed and tolerated different behaviors from their sons than they did their daughters. So even though we get frustrated with men, we as women often are perpetuating the very behaviors that irritate us. We're the ones often perpetuating that behavior. I have a sister-in-law, and I'm married to her brother. Same household, same two parents. She's all about cleanliness and tidiness. And my husband is not that bothered by it. And, he can leave stuff out. It doesn't bother him. So in that same household, there was different cues and expectations given to the female versus the male. They grew up in the same household. But oftentimes we will say disparaging things about men when they become adults, but another female called his mama or his mother may have been the very one to perpetuate the behavior that turns us off and frustrates us when he's a grown man. So part of this, ladies, is we need to take responsibility for our part in co-creating the very behaviors that irritate the heck out of us. There was a question of, can you give a communication example for intimacy? So I need that person to be a little bit more specific. Hello, Missy. Hello, Deborah. A little bit more specific of what you mean. One thing I can think of that married women will often ask me, because I'm really big on husbands and wives still dating each other. And I don't mean in your sweat sitting around eating pizza on a Friday night watching Netflix. I mean step up your appearance for each other like you did when you were dating. Get out of the house, make some plans, honor the relationship, honor the sacred time, and don't be worn out and tired where you're giving your best energy to an employer or the kids, and then for each other crumbs are left. Not okay. And you're out of order. So a lot of married women, their husbands, they're not going out on dates. They're overly absorbed in the kids. They're getting caught up in the business of marriage. Out of order. You've lost sight of what should be a central value. Nothing coming between each other and your hearts. Hi, Mitzi. Hi, Leona. Hi, Michelle. So I will do role plays with married women on how to make a request that the husband plan a date. Honey, Would you? Will you? And what's the action you'd like? And then let him respond. Give you a yes answer. Honey, would you make dinner plans for Friday at a wonderful restaurant? Now, with men, don't just say wonderful restaurant. His notion of wonderful may be different from your notion of wonderful. Would you make dinner reservations for this Friday for us at a fine Italian restaurant, at a fine Mediterranean restaurant, at a joint that has wonderful hamburgers? Whatever it is, be specific. You don't have to tell him what exact place, but tell him the kind of food you want. It will help him out. Women often want to stay vague in general, thinking that helps, that serves men first. Just leave it open. No, it stresses them out. They want to please us. So when you just say, oh, wherever you want is fine, it stresses them out. It does not help them. Would you, will you plan a date for us this Friday night? Well, what if he says no? Then say, okay, well, how about Saturday night? Does that work better for you? He might say no. How about next weekend, Friday night? That works. So if you get a no, don't go into your girl thing, pout, silent treatment. No. Okay. So, hey, Andre, how you doing? Newlywed. Oh, this is good for you to be checking this out. Hey, Gail. Hey, Risha. So we have time for, I think, 2 more questions, because, you know, this can go on. And if this kind of whetted your appetite and you want to understand this manese, womanese more deeply, you want to understand womanese and you're a man on the line, you want to learn how to speak manese and you're a woman on the line, I promise you, you become bilingual as a woman, because we tend to use 5 times as many words, easily 5 to 15 times as many words in a day as men do. So when a woman becomes bilingual, it can elevate the communication in the relationship, because we tend to take up most of the airtime. So when a man starts to understand womanese and a woman starts to speak manese, oh wow, it can be a powerful thing. So you can go to milliondollarmentor.net, which is Grand Central for all things Debrina. And I have some tools. I have a audio program called How Men Tick. It's called The Cure, and it introduces you to the love lies. I have some YouTube videos called How Men Tick. I, of course, have the book, The Love Lies, right, which talks about how to upgrade your communication skill. And then for those who are going to be or live in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, I will be on a tour through the Southwest. I'm doing Greenville, South Carolina on June 5th. Then I'll be in Charlotte on the 7th. And then I'll be in Raleigh on the 9th. And the Raleigh event still has some spaces available. Hey, Deborah. Deborah said, preach. Thank you, girl. Hey, Leona. Hey, Kevin. We love having men on the line. Woohoo. So there's still spaces at the live Raleigh event, and it is called Being a More Juicy Woman in Love and Life. So if you want to go deeper into this whole juicy woman, Debrina, you said juicy, not just happy, juicy. What are you talking about? You said there's a difference between being in your girl versus being in your woman. I want to know more about that. Then go to milliondollarmentor.net, and in my event section on my homepage, scroll down, boom, there is the graphic. Click on it for my Raleigh event, 4 o'clock to 6:30 on Saturday, June 9th. And the price is scheduled to go up after tonight. So only $39, 4 to 6:30. It's a special rate. So if you're in the Raleigh area, I would love to have you. Go to milliondollarmentor.net. You can join me. So our time is about up, and I have a request that you all share this and forward the link, or just share the video. Of course, it'll be here forever. And I've been so tickled and delighted at the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have been watching these videos. It's just wonderful. And if you haven't joined the Relationships Cafe, oh my gosh, it is a Facebook group where it's all about detoxing together from the love lies and helping to make the concepts in my book, The Love Lies, whoop, 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 over my shoulder here on the wall, make the concepts from the love lies real in your life so that you can shift out of the love lies into the love truths. So you have all kinds of tools available to you. This is just kind of a little bit of a appetizer, and I really encourage you to put into practice the things that I have talked about this evening, because there's some things that you can start to act on right now. No, my books are not in audio. That was one of the questions. I want you to get a physical book and engage with the book. These books are interactive. Every book I write, Sacred Pampering Principles, All the Joy You Can Stand, and The Love Lies. So my preference is that you engage with the book. You do the exercise, you write in the book, which is even more effective than audio. Okay, so some of my books are on Kindle, but I really suggest you get a physical book. But none of them are audio books, okay? But I do have an audio program related to love relationships that you can get at milliondollarmentor.net in the empowerment store. All kinds of fabulous resources. All right, my dears and my wonderful men dears out there. Kelly, hi. Thank you for saying amazing. Oh, appreciate it. But share, share, share. I hope we stay connected. I'll be back next month. The Relationships Cafe. This is part of my Love Academy teachings. And you can send your questions on over, so keep posting questions and I will do my best to answer them. And I hope to have you join me in Raleigh. Also in October, excuse me, I'm doing an awesome national love relationships event with the amazing Rosetta Thurman of Happy Black Woman, and it will be in the DC area. So hopefully you can join us October 6th. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. See you next month. We'll stay connected. Join the Relationships Cafe. Go to milliondollarmentor.net. Get the book. Get the audio program. Stay connected. And let's step into this new paradigm together. Love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Good night. Thanks for joining.